Fleet Commander Zorb'Nax slumped in his command chair, his three eye stalks drooping as he stared at the holographic battle reports. The luminous red figures bathed his purple skin in an ominous glow. He rubbed his facial tentacles, a nervous habit his subordinates had learned to fear. "So you're telling me," he began, his voice oscillating between disbelief and rage, "that our entire 7th Battalion was what's the human term? Ah, yes, absolutely wrecked by a handful of creatures from a backwater planet?" Strategic Officer Blorg cleared his throat sacs awkwardly. "Not the entire battalion, sir. We still have 3 support vessels intact." 3? Out of 47. Zorb'Nax's middle eye bulged dangerously. "Do you have any idea how this looks on the quarterly conquest report? The Supreme Overlord is going to have my tentacles preserved in ceremonial fluid." The bridge fell silent. In the Galactic Dominion's 4,000-year history of glorious conquest, no commander had ever filed such an embarrassing report. The Dominion stood at the pinnacle of galactic civilization. Their warships blotted out suns. Their weapons could crack planets. Their military handbook was longer than most species' entire recorded histories. Lieutenant Thrax, a rookie with more courage than sense, raised a limb. "Perhaps we should review the field footage again, Commander. There might be some explanation for the unexpected setback." Zorb'Nax snorted through his nasal ridges. "Unexpected setback? Is that what we're calling it now? Losing 44 warships and nearly 12,000 troops is a bit more than a setback, Lieutenant. It's a catastrophe. A humiliation. A stain on my otherwise immaculate conquest record." The holographic display flickered as Thrax brought up the battle footage. The image showed what appeared to be a small outpost on the third planet's moon, a pathetic collection of domes and antennae, barely worthy of orbital bombardment. "As you can see, sir," Thrax narrated, "initial scans showed minimal defenses and only a small complement of humans. Intelligence classified it as a minor outpost of no strategic significance." And yet, Zorb'Nax interrupted, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Somehow this insignificant outpost managed to destroy most of our invasion force. Please enlighten me. How does that happen exactly?" Science Officer Plex nervously adjusted her ceremonial rank badges. "Well, sir, it appears the humans have some unexpected capabilities. Our intelligence on their weapons systems may have been slightly outdated." "Slightly outdated?" Zorb'Nax's laugh could have curdled milk. "By the 17 moons of Kragthor, we just suffered the worst military defeat since the gaseous entity rebellion of the 43rd epoch. Somebody better start explaining what in the name of the void just happened. Or I'm having the lot of you reassigned to waste disposal duty on the methane farms of Gorgax VI." The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. Someone was going to have to tell the commander the truth, and nobody wanted to be the bearer of such ridiculous news. 3 standard cycles earlier, the war room of the Dominion flagship Inevitable Victory buzzed with activity. Holoscreens projected images of Earth, a blue-green marble that looked utterly unremarkable to the assembled high command. General Plex Var, his ceremonial battle spikes polished to a mirror shine, strutted around the strategic table with the confidence of someone who'd already won. "As you can see," he announced, jabbing a taloned finger at the projection, "these humans are barely into their spacefaring phase. Their most advanced weapons still use chemical propellants. He paused for the expected laughter, which his subordinates dutifully provided. Intelligence Officer M'Rok flicked through her datapad. "Our analysis suggests their biology is extraordinarily fragile. They have no exoskeleton, no secondary organs, and this is quite amusing, they're mostly water. One good hit, and they simply leak." More laughter rippled through the command staff. Zorb'Nax, seated at the head of the table, permitted himself a small chuckle. Easy conquests were always welcome. They looked good on the quarterly reports. "What about their defensive capabilities?" he asked, always one to cover all angles. Weapons specialist Jorg Blitz stepped forward, his voice dripping with contempt. "Primitive, Commander. Absolutely primitive. They still use projectile weapons that fire metal slugs. Can you believe it? And their advanced weapons are merely more efficient ways of throwing these metal bits. No plasma cannons, no quantum disruptors, not even basic gravitational manipulation. Their communications technology is equally laughable, added Communications Officer Jeel'Taar. They still rely on electromagnetic radiation for most transmissions. We could shut down their entire network with a single pulse from our tertiary systems. General Plex Var spread his upper limbs in a gesture of triumphant dismissal. This conquest will be over so quickly that I've already scheduled my victory feast. 3 days, maximum. I'd say 2, but I'm allowing extra time for their surrender ceremony. I do enjoy a good surrender ceremony. Zorb'Nax nodded, satisfied. Very well. Begin with a standard intimidation approach. Land forces at their most isolated outpost to demonstrate our superiority, then broadcast demands for immediate surrender. Their moon base would be perfect, suggested Strategic Officer Blorg, highlighting a small collection of structures on Earth's natural satellite. Minimal defenses, small crew, and just enough strategic value that they'll understand our seriousness without forcing us to damage anything valuable. Excellent. Plex Var boomed. The 7th Battalion will handle this with ease. They've been complaining about the lack of action anyway. This will be good practice for them. 12 hours later, the first Dominion dropships descended toward the lunar surface, their stealth systems making them virtually invisible to human detection methods. Commander Zorb'Nax of the 7th Battalion observed the approaching moon base through his tactical visor. Pathetic, he muttered to his executive officer. Look at that construction. They've barely managed to pressurize those habitats. And their defensive systems? I've seen better security on pleasure cruisers. Landing in 30 seconds, announced the pilot. No detection signals. They don't even know we're here. Zorb'Nax activated the battalion comm link. Remember troops' standard intimidation protocol. Shock and awe display minimal casualties. We want these humans intact for processing. The Supreme Overlord prefers his new servant species to be properly conditioned, not resentful. The drop ships touched down in formation, surrounding the main lunar facility. Dominion troops deployed with practiced precision, weapons primed for display but set to non-lethal suppression modes. Zorb'Nax stepped onto the lunar surface, his magnetic boots anchoring him to the regolith. He activated his external speakers to announce their arrival and demands for surrender. That was when everything went catastrophically wrong. The moment Commander Zorb'Nax's amplified voice boomed across the lunar surface announcing the Dominion's arrival, and a single red light began flashing atop the main human facility. Not the panicked emergency lights the Dominion expected, just one calm, pulsing crimson beacon. Well, that's anticlimactic, Lieutenant Thrax commented, his squad fanned out behind him. Are they even awake in there? Through the facility's viewports, they could see humans moving with surprising calmness. No screaming, no panic, just methodical activity. They're probably paralyzed with fear, Thrax chuckled. Sergeant Clax, take your unit and secure the main airlock. Standard intimidation procedures. Clax nodded and led his 12-soldier unit forward. They reached the airlock without incident, weapons held high in threatening postures that had terrified countless species across the galaxy. That's when the lunar dust to their left erupted. A human in what appeared to be a laughably bulky white suit emerged from a camouflaged position, holding what intelligence had described as a primitive projectile weapon. Before Clax could even issue a warning, the human fired. The primitive projectile tore through Clax's supposedly impenetrable armor like it was made of celebration paper. 3 more of his soldiers dropped in quick succession. What in the void? Thrax screamed into his comm. Command. Their weapons are penetrating our armor. Repeat. Across the landing zone, more humans in white suits popped up from concealed positions. The Dominion troops, trained for intimidation and subjugation of terrified primitives, found themselves woefully unprepared for humans who shot with casual precision. Fall back. Defensive formation. Thrax ordered, only to watch in horror as one of his drop ships exploded in a spectacular fireball. Ow. Our shields should. His comm unit crackled with panicked reports from all sectors. They're inside our perimeter already. Weapons ineffective. They're ignoring stun settings. 3 more transports down. Some kind of magnetic projectile, that. They're laughing at us. I can hear them laughing. Thrax tried to contact Commander Zorb'Nax, but received only static. He switched to the emergency channel to the orbiting command vessels. Emergency protocol shattered horn. We are facing unexpected resistance. Request immediate orbital support. The response from orbit was equally confused. Lieutenant, we're detecting energy signatures inconsistent with reported human technology. Confirm status of. The transmission cut off as a human projectile shattered Thrax's comm unit along with the upper portion of his central thorax. As his life fluids leaked into his armor, his final thought was profound confusion. This wasn't how conquests were supposed to go. Back at the human facility, Staff Sergeant Molly Jenkins keyed her radio while reloading her railgun. Base, this is perimeter? We've got some kind of attack? Maybe? These aliens seem really bad at whatever they're trying to do. Inside the command center, Captain Miguel Torres sighed heavily. Any chance this is just some weird first contact attempt gone wrong? Negative, sir. They're definitely shooting at us. Just really badly. Torres rubbed his forehead. All right, continue defensive operations. And somebody get Spacecomm on the line. Tell them our training exercise just got a lot more interesting. Aboard the inevitable victory, chaos reigned supreme. Commander Zorb'Nax's command center had transformed from an organized military operation into something resembling a panic attack with uniforms. Communications officers frantically juggled incoming transmissions while tactical displays showed alarming numbers of red dots, each representing a Dominion casualty spreading across the lunar surface like a disease. Report. Now. Zorb'Nax bellowed, his facial tentacles writhing in distress. Communications Officer Nex Lara's voice trembled. Sir, we've lost contact with Commander Zorb'Nax. Lieutenant Thrax's final transmission indicated complete tactical failure. The 3rd, 5th, and 8th squads are she swallowed hard. They're gone, sir. Just gone. That's impossible. Zorb'Nax slammed all 4 fists onto his command console. They were equipped with Class 7 battle armor. The humans are using glorified metal pebbles as weapons. Strategic Officer Blorg cleared his throat nervously. About that, sir. Preliminary analysis suggests their metal pebbles are traveling at roughly 15% light speed. What? What? And they appear to be magnetically accelerated rather than chemically propelled. Zorb'Nax's eye stalks stretched to their full height in shock, but intelligence said, Yes, well, Blorg examined his datapad with sudden intense interest. There seems to have been a slight misinterpretation. Within minutes, the flagship's war room filled with arguing officers. General Plex Var, his previously immaculate battle spikes now disheveled, pointed accusingly at Intelligence Officer Zorb'Nax. This disaster is entirely Intelligence's fault, he shouted. Your report said they were primitive. Zorb'Nax bristled. My reports were based on their public broadcasts. How was I supposed to know their entertainment channels weren't accurate technological assessments? Perhaps weapons specialist Jorg Blitt interjected sarcastically, because that's literally your job. Oh, that's rich coming from you. Zorb'Nax snapped back. Your weapons analysis said their defenses would crumble instantly. How's that working out exactly? The argument devolved further until Zorb'Nax slammed his ceremonial staff against the floor, creating a sound like thunder. Enough. This blame shifting is beneath the Dominion's dignity. He paused. even though it's obviously intelligence's fault. Tal deflated visibly. Science Officer Jeel'Taar, Zorb'Nax, turned to the only calm person in the room. "You've been analyzing the battle data. What exactly are we facing here?" Jeel'Taar, a slender alien with an oversized cranium housing 4 brains, stepped forward. She adjusted her spectral enhancers and projected a hologram of the battlefield. "Commander, after reviewing all available information, I've reached a disturbing conclusion." Her voice was clinically detached. "The humans aren't using their military forces." Silence fell over the war room. "What do you mean?" Zorb'Nax asked carefully. "These defenders," she highlighted the humans in the hologram, "are wearing what appears to be scientific exploration gear, not combat armor. Their weapons, while surprisingly effective, are not standard military issue, they're improvised from research equipment. And most tellingly," she zoomed in on a transmission they'd intercepted, "they keep referring to this as a training exercise that's getting out of hand." General Plex Var's face paled to a sickly blue. "Are you suggesting?" "Yes," Jeel'Taar confirmed. "We haven't engaged their military at all. This outpost appears to be a scientific research station with minimal security personnel." In essence, she concluded with devastating calm, the humans aren't even trying. They think this is some kind of unexpected drill. The war room erupted into horrified murmurs. Zorb'Nax, feeling the weight of impending historical humiliation, made a decision. "Recall all remaining ground forces," he ordered grimly. Immediately, the command center fell into a stunned silence as Intelligence Officer Crix, who had replaced the now demoted Mroch-Tal, projected the intercepted human communications onto the main screen. Zorb'Nax and his officers stared in disbelief at the translated text scrolling before them. "This can't be right," Zorb'Nax whispered, his voice barely audible. "Run the translation again." Crix nervously adjusted his rank insignia. "Sir, we've run it 17 times. The translation is accurate. These are communications between the lunar outpost and their orbital command." The message was horrifyingly clear. "Spacecom to Lunar Outpost Alpha, status report on unscheduled training exercise. Scout Team Delta performing exceptionally against unknown combatants. Reserve unit standing by but currently unnecessary. Confirm this remains a non-critical situation." "Scout Team?" General Plex Var's voice rose to a pitch previously unknown to Dominion biological science. "Scout Team. We just lost an entire battalion to a scout team." "What's a Delta?" someone asked nervously. Science Officer Jeel'Taar consulted her datapad. Based on human military organizational structure, Team Delta would be approximately 20 to 30 personnel. Plex Var's facial coloration cycled rapidly through the entire Dominion emotional spectrum, from confident purple to embarrassed blue to terrified white to enraged crimson. His exoskeleton actually began to crack under the stress. 20 personnel? He squeaked. 12,000 of our finest troops were defeated by 20 humans. Zorb'Nax buried his face in his upper appendages. By the eternal void. The Supreme Overlord will have us all processed into nutrient paste. "But sir," Junior Strategic Officer Quint piped up, "according to the Dominion Military Hierarchy Regulation 7293B, Section 47, Paragraph 19, Line 3, this defeat is technically not our responsibility since intelligence provided faulty." "Silence," roared Zorb'Nax. "The Supreme Overlord doesn't care about regulations. He cares about results, and the result is that we've been humiliated by a species that hasn't even colonized their own star system yet." Crix reluctantly raised a limb. "Sir, there's more. We've intercepted data on human military deployment, if they mobilize their actual military forces." The holographic projection shifted to display Earth's full military capabilities. The numbers were staggering. "Their global forces number in the millions," Crix explained, his voice trembling. "And those are just their active personnel. They maintain reserve forces many times that number." Their orbital defense network alone has enough firepower to... Enough. Zorb'Nax cut him off, unable to bear more. Does anyone have any good news? The silence was deafening. Well, Jeel'Taar finally offered, they haven't yet realized we're an actual invasion force. They still think this is some kind of training scenario gone awry. Plexvar, now a twitching mess in the corner, began laughing hysterically. Oh, that's much better. We're not just defeated, we're so pathetic they don't even recognize us as a threat. In the dimly lit analysis chamber of the inevitable victory, Zorb'Nax and his remaining command staff watched the battlefield recordings with mounting horror. The footage showed humans in what the Dominion had mistaken for cumbersome life support suits moving with shocking efficiency across the lunar surface. Observe their casualness, Science Officer Jeel'Taar pointed at one human who was actually leaning against a lunar boulder, casually reloading a weapon with one hand while speaking into a communication device. This soldier has eliminated 7 of our elite troops without even changing position. The recording showed the human suddenly roll sideways as a Dominion energy blast hit where he'd been standing. Without missing a beat, he fired 3 rapid shots, each finding its mark in a Dominion soldier's sensory cluster. How are they predicting our targeting systems? Demanded weapons specialist Zorb'Nax. It's like they know exactly when to move. Biological Analysis Officer Corb pushed forward eagerly. I have a theory about that. Humans might possess precognitive abilities. Precognition. Zorb'Nax's eye stalks swiveled skeptically. Yes, or possibly multi-dimensional perception, or quantum entanglement with future states. Corb's enthusiasm grew with each increasingly absurd suggestion. Maybe they're actually a hive mind, or perhaps their mostly water composition allows for some kind of fluid-based distributed computing. Or Jeel'Taar interjected dryly, they simply have good reflexes and training. Corb deflated visibly. Well, that's far less interesting. Another scientist, eager to salvage some professional dignity, pointed to a different section of footage. Look how they continue fighting despite injuries. This one lost an atmospheric containment seal and continues combat operations for nearly 7 minutes before applying a repair patch. Intelligence Officer Thrax activated another recording, this one audio. The translated human communications filled the chamber. Jenkins to base. These guys shoot like stormtroopers. Is this some kind of joke? Rogers, I'm giving these alien costumes a solid 3 out of 10. Creative concept, but poor execution. Anyone else notice they explode really dramatically when hit? The props department outdid themselves this time. Zorb'Nax's facial tentacles drooped lower with each transmission. They thought our soldiers were training dummies? Thrax nodded miserably. They refer to our battle tactics as hilariously bad and weirdly theatrical. One human actually complains that the exercise isn't challenging enough. Wait, Strategic Officer Blorg pointed to a timestamp. This communication occurred after we'd deployed our heavy assault walkers. Correct, Thrax confirmed. The human described them as, and I quote, cute stompy robots with obvious weak points. Zorb'Nax sank deeper into his command chair, a sense of cosmic dread settling over him. If this was how humans responded to a surprise attack while undermanned and under-equipped, what would happen if they deployed their actual military forces? The thought made his exoskeleton contract in fear. The Grand Council chamber of the inevitable victory buzzed with panicked voices as representatives from every department gathered for what was quickly becoming the most chaotic emergency meeting in Dominion history. The massive oval table, designed to project power and organized hierarchy, now resembled an intergalactic kindergarten during snack dispute time. Ambassador Zlov, the diplomatic corps representative, pounded his ceremonial staff. We must maintain proper Dominion Council procedure according to Statute 7,000,002. Statute 7,000,002, shrieked General Plexvar, now sporting several stress fractures across his exoskeleton. We're facing existential humiliation, and you're quoting procedures at me. What else? The bureaucratic affairs minister, Thrax, raised all three hands. Point of order. According to the Dominion Crisis Management Protocol, Section 47, subparagraph Gamma 3, we must first establish a committee to determine if this constitutes an actual crisis before proceeding to emergency measures. A committee? Zorb'Nax's voice cut through the chamber like a plasma blade. Half our invasion force is space debris. Thrax consulted his massive rulebook. Yes, but technically, according to the official Dominion military engagement classification system, we haven't lost enough ships to qualify as a catastrophic defeat. We're still in the significant setback category, which requires Form 73D rather than the Crisis Management Protocol. Weapons Development Director Blaz slammed his appendage on the table. Retreat. Full retreat. We need to salvage what we can and regroup. Retreat, gasped Public Relations Director Quaib. The optics would be disastrous. The Supreme Overlord's annual conquest speech is next month. What would we tell him? Sorry, we were defeated by scientists who thought we were training dummies. I have a solution, announced Strategic Reassessment Officer Pluk, waving a data pad. We classify this as a strategic reconnaissance mission retroactively. We weren't invading, we were gathering intelligence through an intentionally limited engagement. Brilliant. Several voices chorused. One problem, Science Officer Jeel'Taar interrupted. Our ships broadcast prepare for total annihilation on all frequencies when they arrived. I believe that undermines the reconnaissance narrative. Pluk deflated. Perhaps we could claim our translation matrices malfunctioned? The arguments continued, growing increasingly absurd. Someone suggested claiming the entire battalion had gone rogue. Another proposed a cover story about the ships being stolen by space pirates. A third wondered if they could blame it on a mass hallucination caused by cosmic radiation. Throughout it all, Zorb'Nax sat silently, his dread mounting with each ridiculous suggestion. Finally, he rose to his full height, tentacles rigid with determination. Enough. His quiet voice somehow silenced the entire chamber. We have two options. Continue this ill-advised invasion and face certain destruction when humans deploy their actual military, or withdraw immediately and preserve what remains of our forces. But the Supreme Overlord someone began. I will take full responsibility, Zorb'Nax stated flatly. We retreat. Now. And we mark this system as a Class 10 hazard zone not to be approached under any circumstances. The silence that followed was broken only by the collective sigh of relief from every officer who'd been contemplating their imminent processing into nutrient paste. In the rear, the main hangar of the inevitable victory, organized chaos reigned as Dominion troops scrambled to evacuate. The official announcement labeled the operation a tactical reassessment of engagement priorities, but everyone knew they were running away with their tails between their legs, which was particularly noteworthy since Dominion species didn't have tails. Accelerate evacuation procedures, barked Zorb'Nax from the command deck. I want every ship out of this system within the hour. But Commander, protested Logistics Officer Vrunk, proper evacuation protocols require at least 7 hours for equipment recovery and ritual farewell ceremonies for our fallen warriors. Does it look like we have time for ceremonies? Zorb'Nax gestured wildly at the tactical display, showing human vessels leaving Earth's atmosphere. They're mobilizing. And based on what we've seen, those aren't warships, they're probably maintenance drones or possibly garbage collectors. On Earth's moon, Captain Miguel Torres watched with profound confusion as the alien vessels rapidly departed. They're leaving? He turned to his communications officer. Did we do something wrong? No idea, sir, Lieutenant Ramirez replied, equally baffled. Spacecom says they've detected massive energy signatures consistent with faster-than-light jumps. Whatever these guys were testing, they're packing up fast. Torres scratched his head. Weirdest training exercise ever. Send a message to command. Unidentified test force retreating. Request instructions. And somebody get me a damage assessment. I want to know how much of this mess I have to explain in my report. Staff Sergeant Jenkins trudged into the command center, her helmet tucked under her arm. Sir, we've collected some of their technology for analysis. The lab boys are going to have a field day with this stuff. Though honestly, it looks like prototype gear that wasn't ready for field testing. Half of it fell apart when we touched it. Some testing program, Torres mused. All that fancy tech, and their troops couldn't hit the broadside of a lunar habitat. Back on the inevitable victory, Commander Zorb'Nax sat alone in his private quarters, staring at the blank report screen. After 17 attempts, he still couldn't find the right euphemisms to describe their catastrophic failure. Computer, new draft, he sighed. Subject, Reconnaissance Mission 7293B. The computer chirped acknowledgement. The glorious 7th Battalion of the Dominion Expansion Force has successfully completed a high-risk intelligence-gathering operation in previously unexplored territory. Our brave warriors deliberately engaged a primitive species to assess their military capabilities through limited contact scenarios. He paused, tentacles writhing as he contemplated his next fabrication. The operation yielded invaluable strategic data at the acceptable cost of several vessels and personnel. Analysis confirms that, despite appearances, the species designated human possesses unexpectedly advanced defensive capabilities and should be classified as a Category 10 threat. Recommend immediate establishment of a quarantine zone around their star system with the designation Extreme Danger. Do not approach to prevent accidental contact by Dominion civilian vessels. Zorb'Nax reviewed his work, wondering if the Supreme Overlord would believe a word of it. Probably not, but it was better than admitting they'd been utterly decimated by what amounted to a lunar janitorial crew who thought they were participating in a practice drill. 6 months later, at Spacecom headquarters on Earth, General Williams reviewed the final report on the lunar training incident. So our final conclusion is that it was an experimental combat simulation using advanced drones and prototype weapon systems? He asked his intelligence chief. Yes, sir. Though we still don't know which division authorized it. No one's claiming responsibility. Williams closed the file. Well, whoever it was, tell them their simulation was impressive but needs work. Those drones' tactical programming was laughable. No real enemy would ever be that incompetent. Meanwhile, in the vast database of the Galactic Dominion, Earth now bore the highest danger classification ever assigned to any planet, with a special notation, approach at your own risk. Inhabitants destroy elite military units while barely paying attention.